Hi everyone. So in this little video, I'm just going to quickly run through how to assemble a national box. The principle would be the same if it's a super like this kit is, or if it's a brood box. They're just the brood box is slightly deeper, but all the principles are exactly the same. So when you receive your brood box or super, it will normally come flat packed like this. Sometimes it will have the slides, it depends how they've made it. These runners where the frames sit on, if they made the wood slightly differently, they'll sit on raised wooden pieces instead of needing the metal runners. But this one needs the metal runners. So the other tools you're going to need to do this are so a drill bits, electric screwdriver, and instead of nails which come with the packs, so you really the recognised way is to glue and nail these together. I throw those away and I do screwing with stainless steel screws instead. So I use these stainless steel screws that I've got from Screwfix, a box of 4 times 50. These are for the longer ones for the sides, and then for the side walls I use 3.5 times 40. So what you do basically is drill some pilot holes in the right place and screw it together, but we'll get to that later. Additional things which are really useful: a couple of top bars or made frames, because you want to use these to help you make sure you've got the bee space at the top of the hive correct. It doesn't want to be too high or too low. Just maybe 1 or 2 millimeters below the edge is fine. Normal sort of tools. A rubber hammer is very good. This is from I got this for working on my car on the brakes, so you can bang the brakes without damaging anything, damaging the alloy metal. So that's a rubber hammer that you probably get online from Amazon. Look for car brakes or something like that, and other standard stuff: hammer, some cutters, a tape measure, some additional nails, slightly different ones. And it's also useful to have a template like this. So when you're making up your square national box, it's useful to have this to occasionally just put it on and make sure you're making it square. It should be 460 by 460 square. If you haven't got a crown board or any other sort of board, queen excluder or something, you have to measure across the diagonals every time you twiddle or push something together. You really want to get a box at the end fairly tight, not floppy, and the diagonals are the same length, so the box is square. So I'll just open this up with the cutters. Not very good cutters. It's very tough. There we are. So what do we have in here? So you'll have 4 parts really. More than four main parts for walls, but then you've got the bars, of course. So separate the big parts from the smaller parts to start with, like that. And then look carefully at these, and you can see that this is like an angle to it. So these will be one of the bottom bars. I always think of rain coming down and falling, running down the angle to remember what is what. So let's start putting it together. So you can just start slotting it in, really. So put the bottom bar at what you're gonna say is gonna be the bottom. You can use the rubber mallet for this and help line it up. So your top bar is going to look totally different than your bottom bar. Okay, so you know it's a top bar. So just sort of assemble it roughly to start with, using the hammer if you need to. One needs a hammer, one doesn't. Let me put that back. As always. And you see why the rubber mallet's good. Let's put that one back in a minute. Let me go like that. And yeah, again, another. See that's angled, so that's your bottom bar. And think of the rain coming off. So it would go down that way round. The rain would fall off. Okay. Like that. And this is your top bar. So the frames would sit on there in the top bar. So that would be that way round. So at this point, if this one doesn't fall off, we've got one of the sides with the bars fitted, and it's critical this one, these are the right way round, so the frames will sit across here. If there is water, the rain will fall and flow off that direction of the side walls. Okay, so then we can put the other adjacent panel on. You can see it's got these grooves. These grooves have to be on the inside, and then it's just a question of pushing the wood on here as well. Bit of a hammer. We're not too worried at this point about it being square, just to get these in at the moment. And you can turn the box. Hammer it all nicely tight together. It still may be pretty floppy at this point, but don't worry too much. Just get it as tight as you can, not overdoing the hammering because the cedar wood's very, very loose. Okay, so we've got our basic box frame done. You can see it's still quite floppy. Now these are the side panels which sort of might slide in or they might not. There's no particular way up or way around. Just pick the side of wood that you like to be on the outside. Probably the nicest one on the outside, the worst one on the inside, because the bees don't care, but it's nice to have a good looking box. And this is where you might have to just push in a bit, use the hammer again. So good, the hammer. Get a bit of a tap in. And it doesn't matter at this point if the sides come away a little bit, we can just tighten them back at the end a bit later. So I think on this type of construction, the the drop-in panels need to be flush here with the wood. So this is going to be where the side panels go. Sorry, this is going to be where the side panels go. And we also bank the other side panel in. So what we're aiming to do now, that's basically the box together, but obviously not screwed together. So these frame supports, side runners, will go there, one on each side, and then a frame will sit here. So what we've got to do at this point is make sure, put one at either end, put these on probably would be best as well. I'll do that in a second. Put one either end and make sure the height of the frames to the box here is going to be correct, because this is a National Hive has bottom bee space, so the frames should just be very, very close to the top here. Not quite flush, I would say, because due to propolis they'll build up a little bit, and then you'll find the crown board won't fit. Things on top of them rest on the frames instead of the sides of the hives. So what I'll do, I'll stop the video here and I'll put these side runners on, and then I'll start to do some jigging around, a bit of drilling, and I'll come back and turn the video on again. Hi, so now you can see what I've done. I've drilled and screwed in 8 screws to keep the bars together. Still not finished yet, but the box is sturdier than it was before, so let's have a check on its status. Could be a bit better, maybe like that. These boxes, which are seconds though, a lot of them aren't made very well, so don't expect miracles. That's not too bad. So what I need to do as I'm tightening up the inner panels, check this all the time, give it a push together one way or the other to try and keep it square. So the next part to this is adjusting these inner panels to the right height, so the frames sit nicely. So you can see this one isn't too bad, but this side needs to come up a little bit. It's too low. Same that side. This side's pretty much okay, but this side needs to be a little bit higher. So I'll just get the hammer and give that a tap, and then it's a question of drilling at least 4 holes on each side, and using the longer screws, the 3.5 times 40mm screws, which are the correct length. This is what you don't want to do when you're drilling in. When you're drilling in from the side here, you don't want to come through the wood. So that's what's that? What was that? What I said that was the 40mm, 3.5 40mm. So 4 of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, will keep each side panel on. So that's what I'll do next. I am back. So whilst you were away, I put the 4 screws on each side to hold the side wall that slides up and down properly. You can also see I put in the castellations. Now on this type of super, or it could be the brood box as well, it has these metal sliders that the frames sit on. Like that. So with that type of design, these are the castellations. There's 10 slots. You can't put it up, bang metal against metal. So what you can do is put the castellations in the slot between the wood instead. If you want to do that, it's quite important where you drill these two holes, because the castellations are going to come down and rest on that. So it's probably worth just taking a bit of care, getting your castellations, making sure they don't, and use that as a guide to where to drill the holes. So you want them sort of there, if you can see what I mean. So the castellations don't come over the top and sit in the slot between the wood and sit down on those two screws. So then we'll do a last check. You can do the check with the diagonals. It should be 65 and 65 it is across. And you can do your check with crown board and see how it is, and that's pretty good actually. So that's it done. It takes you a bit longer than you think actually to do it carefully, and especially with these seconds, they don't always fit very well, and the wooden mallet is very good in these circumstances. Okay, so just do it carefully. That's how you make a super or brood box using stainless steel screws. Bye for now.